Hey everyone, this is RST instructor Chris Tyler, and if you've been searching for a solution to hit your driver more solidly, more frequently, then you want to pay close attention to Padraig Harrington's golf swing. I'm going to show you a couple of great checkpoints that are going to help you overcome some of those major faults that you may have been struggling with, including properly shifting your weight, keeping your head quiet, and releasing the golf club through the hitting area. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so those of you that are joining us on our YouTube channel, and before I get started with today's breakdown of Padraig's golf swing, I'm going to include a special preview of a bonus clip at the end of this video on the weight shift number 3 video that we have at RotarySwing.com. And remember, if you like this video, go ahead and click the like button below, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post those up and I'll help you out as best I can. Now let's get started. Okay guys, we're back with another tour analysis this week of Padraig Harrington. Congratulations to Padraig on pulling out a playoff victory over a resilient 21-year-old who played some great golf as well. So it's good to see Padraig back in the winner's circle. And this week I'm going to be going through a few things that are going to kind of highlight some of the areas that are going to help you become a better driver of the golf ball. And give you a couple of good checkpoints and a couple of good related videos that'll help you get some big things kind of resolved in your golf swing. And if you look at this from a face-on perspective, I'm going to go ahead and mark the head position here at address. You'll notice that the head is just behind the golf ball here. We've also gone to a little bit of a wider base. I know that a lot of times people get confused of what do we do with the driver, and we do have a video on the website that talks about some driver setup adjustments, and generally speaking you'll see golfers go to a wider base for a little bit more stability, but we still want to make sure that we're shifting our weight properly throughout the golf swing, and that's one of the things that we see amateur golfers really struggle with, is properly shifting their weight. And that's going to be really kind of the whole MO of today's analysis, is how to shift the weight properly in the golf swing. So I'm going to mark a line here where the head position is. I'm also going to mark this center of the hip socket here, which is right around the belt loop on the front of your pants, or 2 finger widths inside of your the pointy pelvic bone on the front of you there. So we're going to go ahead and see a small shift over to the trail side. Again, because we're working from a wider base here, you're not going to see some sort of drastic lateral shift where the head moves off of this line, you know, a good 5 to 6 inches. It's just enough to shift the weight over there to load this trail side up. So you can see the head moved inch and a half or so. And now you can notice that the center of the hip socket is virtually where his head position was at the starting point. So it's moved, you know, a good 3 to 4 inches. Now, what we need to do is we need to be able to shift our weight properly with the lower body in the downswing sequence to start the move. And this is where things kind of go awry for amateur golfers, is they'll tend to not want to shift their weight enough. They'll start swinging their arms or their shoulders from the top of the swing, and that creates rotation. And in turn, that's going to make their head actually give this appearance where they're going to be hanging way back. And if you've ever struggled with hitting the ground before the golf ball off of your driver, hitting those little drop kick shots, this is a good reason why, is that you haven't really shifted the weight enough. And Padraig does it really, really well in his golf swing. You're going to see a good unload of his hips. So again, his center of his hip socket is now virtually right through that line of where his head was at the starting point. And now he's going to make a pretty good size shift these hips back over to the lead side here, getting ready for a release. And what I want you to notice now is that the center of the hip socket is now right over the top of the center of the ankle. All right, so it moved all the way from where it was back here at the starting point of his head, and now it's moved a good 6 to 8 inches or so over to the lead side. But take notice of what the head didn't do. See how the head didn't stay way back behind this line, and you see how the head didn't jump way in front? So that's just a proper combination of shifting and unwinding at the same time. Okay, so there's a good shift and a good unwinding of the hips. And this is allowing him to get himself posted into that lead side. So if you've noticed yourself on camera where your head stays way back behind this line and your hands and arms are starting to get down into the hitting area, then chances are you didn't shift your weight enough. Now on the opposite end of that spectrum, if you've noticed that your head is now moved out in front of this line quite a bit, then we've got to find the culprit as to why you've moved out there. And chances are that's a lot of trail side dominance. Okay, that could be a lot of lateral shift of these hips. And the way to laterally shift them too much is using your trail leg to push really hard, or using your right shoulder and your right arm. And if you shift too hard and you don't rotate, then you're going to see the head stay out in front. The club's going to come down really steep. It can even potentially be over the top, and then you'll hit that big slice off the golf course. So again, if you've ever struggled with hitting those ugly drop kick shots, I know we've all been there, or if you struggle with being over the top, then you need to pay attention on how you shift your weight in your downswing sequence. And it all starts right from a good setup position, and it all starts with properly loading up the trail side. So loading up that trail side again, you can see that his head is moved, he's loaded up his right side here, and then in the downward move, you're gonna see a good size shift and an unwinding of the hips. Not just one or the other, and that in turn gets the head into that same position, and then the head stays very quiet, sets him up for release, and then he releases on through. You can see that the head still stays in behind that line beautifully, while all that stored power is now coming out through the release for speed. All right, guys, so if you want to make your weight shift a lot better, then we've got to make sure that we load it up properly. A good video on the website is weight shift number 1 video. These will all be in the recommended videos over to the right-hand side of the video player. And then weight shift number 3 is another great video that's going to talk to you about how to get back over to that lead side and really get things stabilized. Another good video for you guys to check out would be the straight left-legged impact. That's going to show you how to create some good awareness of some proper muscle groups in order to stabilize things through the hitting area. And you'll be well on your way to overcoming some of those major faults with hanging way back or getting out in front of your shot. And this will in turn help you keep the golf ball on the golf course more often. All right, guys, so let's get out there and shift our weight properly. Let's load it, unload it, and let's play some great golf. I wish you all the best. Let's make it a great day.
All right, Chuck Quinton here with Al Consoli, our new Rotary Swing golf instructor, and we're talking about the continuation of the weight shift series, and this is part 3 where we're talking about, first we talked about just basic pieces setting up. In the last video we talked about loading into that right hip, activating that right glute, that we talked about the right hip line. Well, now that we're loaded up correctly, we're going to get Al to demonstrate what it looks like to actually shift back into the left side. So now we've got truly one of the most crucial parts of the golf swing and one of the most important parts to master. So you can forget about the golf club and the rest of the movements. If your weight shift's not right, you're going to struggle with a lot of things in your swing. So Al, go ahead and go back to the top of your swing. So we'll show that right hip line. So his hip hasn't really moved here. He's loaded up into that right side. He's made a good turn. I'm going to grab a club here. I'm just going to put it on the top of Al's head. So now as Al loads into that left side, watch what happens. Notice his head drops a little bit. So Al, go back to address. So good posture at address. Go ahead and go back to the backswing. Now go ahead and load into that left side. Notice how his head drops a little bit. That's a natural reaction to creating some downforce, actually activating these muscles. That's really what we're trying to do. As he starts to unwind, go ahead and start to unwind. Now his weight moves back onto this left heel, and this is fundamentally important because if it didn't move onto his left heel, if it moved out to the ball of his foot, go ahead and move to the ball of your foot there. Now not only is he off balance, I can knock him over very easy, but he's also changed his primary balancing joint from his hip, which is designed to rotate. So you can stand here all day long and rotate on your hip. He's changed the balancing joint from his hip to his knee.